So I'm going to call to order the open meeting. This meeting has been advertised in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and is publicly accessible in accordance with law. Roll call, please.
Rocco,
Here.
David Cittadino, Dr. George,
Here.
Sarah,
Here.
Maria, Rosemary, Zainab, Gina,
Here.
Maddie,
Here.
Mayor Walker, and Frank Weber.
I just got a call from Weber, but I hung up on him, so he's probably trying to log in.
Okay. All right. Salute to the flag. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
To the flag
the United States
of the United States of America
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
All right. So at this time, we'll call to go into executive session.
And I
Need a
am,
motion.
all right,
Okay, make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make the motion.
All right. Second.
I second it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so first I am putting our guests into the waiting room. That's gonna take me just a second. Just want to-
Everyone in favor of that motion?
Oh, sorry. All I say aye.
Aye.
There, Chris. I'll get there. I promise.
No problem, no problem.
All right, so I now have everyone put into the waiting room and I am pausing the recording.
Recording back on, and I am letting all of the public back into the meeting.
Okay. Perfect. And then we'll go right to the minutes. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for your patience. Jumping right into the agenda, can I have a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of January 8th, 2025?
You can do A and B combined, Sarah.
And an approval of the executive meeting minutes of January 8th, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
Oh, sorry, Rocco.
That's okay.
All right, roll call.
You're
Linda,
muted,
you're on
Linda.
mute. You're on mute, Linda.
Sorry.
Very 2020 of you.
Okay, Rocco,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Oh.
Gina,
Yes.
and Frank Weber.
Yes.
All right. So dropping down to personnel, can I have a motion can I do all these or are they separate, Chris?
You can. Yeah, actually, unless there's any objection from the trustees, you can do A through E all together.
Okay. Do I have to read them all?
Yes.
One by one. Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion to accept the resignation of part-time staff librarian adult services, Cheryl, effective February 16th, 2025. Also to approve the appointment of full-time staff librarian of adult services, Cheryl, at an annual salary of $64,694.27, effective February 17th, 2025. Then to approve the appointment of per diem librarian Tammy Yeadon at an hourly rate of $34.86, effective February 17th. And approve the appointment of per diem librarian Kayla Glynn at an hourly rate of $34.86, effective February 17th, 2025. And approve the appointment of part-time staff librarian adult services Lauren Barone at an hourly rate of $35.55, effective February 17th, 2025.
Discussion.
Need a motion first, Frank.
I'll make the motion. Any second? Okay, thanks, Gina. Any discussion?
Yeah. Item A, how long had Cheryl been with us and did she give us a reason for leaving?
So
She-
this, yeah, sorry, go ahead,
No,
Sarah.
go ahead, Dawn. No, it's fine.
So, because we had, a resignation of one of our full-time librarians, who went out on, family leave and has requested, going into her position part-time. and we have a part-timer, which is that person who has been with us, correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, for about 2 years.
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah, and she is desirous of the full-time position. So we went through the process of advertising positions and interviewing, and that was submitted to the personnel committee. So essentially what will happen is Cheryl will move into the full-time position formerly held by Lauren, and Lauren will move into Cheryl's part-time position. They both have an excellent record of service. And then the temporary librarians who covered a maternity leave are have both worked out really well. So we're putting them into our per diem pool because they both asked to stay on with us in any capacity that we have.
All right, then the other question I have is the annual salary that Cheryl is going to be getting. Is that on a scale, or is that, where does that number come from? The 64,694.
The union contract?
Yeah, all right. And uh, just as an observation, because I know there are benefits that come with a full-time job that don't come with the per diem ones. But their hourly rate roughly comes out to the same salary. That's assuming they were going to work a full day.
Yeah, I mean, per diem can be anything over 4 hours, if I'm correct, Linda.
Yes.
Okay, so actually, Frank, that's a very good observation. Because the having a difference in rate between a part-time staff member and a per diem staff member, I'm not entirely sure of why we would do that, because we now have people that when they were temporary employees, their salary is going to be going down in a very minor way, but it's going to be going down. I think that the work that they're doing, in my opinion, should be compensated equally with our part-time rate. But I don't know if that's a matter for another meeting.
Yeah, well, the other thing is if you are full-time, you are eligible for some benefits that are not available to you. So that's got to be considered in the whatever the discussion takes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, roll call?
Maddie,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
and Frank Weber.
Yes.
You skipped Rocco.
Yeah, I'm a yes too.
Sorry.
All right, so moving to finance, I need a motion to action on the February 12th, 2025 bill listing in the amount of $221,525.76.
I'll
Can I
make a
have-
motion.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. Roll call or discussion?
Yes, discussion. One of the items on there is the $22,000 for I forget the name of the company, but I got a copy of the original order, and it was $18,800, and I'm wondering where the other 4,000 came from.
I think I'd need to know exactly which we're talking about. And just so you know, the treasurer went over all of the bills and she reported to Linda that she had no questions.
All right. Well, I do have a question, and I know she may have said she has no questions, but I got a copy of the original invoice. In other words, what I'm going to suggest is on something of this nature that maybe we get a copy of the actual bill in excess of a certain amount.
So
That's all.
here's one of the things that this is why typically it's gone through with Maria, and quite honestly, anyone who goes through that, I understand what you're saying if I can respond. So what happens is we may have approved 18,000 for a vendor for batteries for the servers. That's one of the things that's been a bigger project that's coming to mind. Then we may also have ordered a new cabling system for the tower. So those are two different estimates. So that's why I'm saying with the specifics, and if I'm asked these things before the meeting, I can have all of the information to answer your question more effectively.
Well, I'll talk to Maria. Okay.
Okay, roll call?
Sarah,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Oh.
Gina,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Abstain.
Rocco,
Yes.
Maddie.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, moving to old business, a motion to approve the quote from Envisionware in the amount of $22,368.89 for the X25 kiosk and RFID readers. Can I have someone make a motion? I can make it. Second,
I'll second it.
roll call?
Rocco,
Discussion?
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Abstain.
Gina,
Yes.
and Frank Weber.
No.
Okay, moving to new business. Is there anything there, Dawn?
Linda, if you can update me, I apologize. I have one of the previous agendas in front of me.
Was new, and it's just new business. Anything you have?
Okay, so, I don't have anything for new business. Everything else is for director's report.
Okay.
Dawn, we didn't do the FMLA.
Oh, I'm so sorry. After we came out of executive session. So, the motion for approving the FMLA for employee number 1476 as has been reviewed by the board attorney.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Rocco,
Yes.
Maddie,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Dr. George,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
and Frank Weber.
Yes.
Okay, and then jumping to director's
Director's report. One of the things that I wanted to share with all of you, I sent you the Idea Farm survey. This is for a couple of different things. It ties in with March 22nd, which is our Makers Day coming up. This is a statewide event, and we're preparing for it by getting the Idea Farm ready, by making sure that the council gets an invitation to the event. And we're partnering with other groups like the Middlesex County Youth Arts Festival Week that we're going to be hosting in Old Bridge as well, so that we're really making it. But this survey, I think, just shows you the power of what we can do on our own. And it gave us some surprising feedback. So I'll just go over it really quickly just to give you highlights. So these were Old Bridge people. It wasn't people coming from other communities. We had 130 people take this survey, and I'm really excited about that. That's a pretty decent number. And in addition to that, we're using this opportunity to grow our communication with the community. So we made sure that we asked at the end of the survey if people wanted to receive updates about the Idea Farm. So we're now going to be able to target email blasts at those people, and they've asked us for it. We're not soliciting people. So Sarah, you know, for marketing, when you get people to ask for the information, that's the win. So we have that information. It's being used. The majority of people who are interested were overwhelmingly our 25 to 64 age group. And that is extremely important. If you look at Old Bridge demographics, we have 65,000 people in our community, and about 10,000 of those are under the age of 18. Beyond that, 12% are seniors. So the bulk of our population is between 25 and 64. And those are the people who are really interested in a makerspace where people are learning about sewing and painting and 3D printing and this transfer of information and knowledge that goes beyond books. You may have heard about makerspaces, and it's largely targeted at kids, and we're going to make sure that they're included. But this is really important information. So people are most interested in our digitization services, which have already started. You can bring your old VHS tapes and have them computed to computer readable files, and your old, sorry, what did we used to call them when we took film pictures? Negatives. Negatives and slides can all be digitized. Sewing and fiber arts, 3D printing, vinyl cutting, paper crafts. And then we've also asked what they want to see in the future. And that's again, gardening and kitchen arts. And what was also extremely important was we asked, would you be willing to pay a small fee for materials related to the project? So that means that if it costs $5 for the materials, rather than the library having to pick up that fee, people, 90% of the people who responded said they would be willing to pay any fees that the library did for that. The other important part is that people don't want to do their training via Zoom. People want to do their training in person. So they want to have the actual direct experience, and they don't want to come in and use it on their own. They want group classes, group instruction, and demonstrations. So I just wanted to give you that survey just so you can really see what we're doing, how we're doing it, and making sure that these directions that we're heading in, we're gathering information to do so strategically.
One comment on the demographics is probably 13,000 or better kids who are under 18, because we have just 8,000 in the 13 public grades. And when you factor in the other 5 years, that'll give you another 3,000 or 4,000, plus whatever kids are going to parochial schools or private schools. The other thing, in the last 20 years, the average age has gone up almost about 8 or 9 years of the average age in the town, which is closer to 46. So just so you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want you to know that we are, we're looking at that information as we make our plans so that you know how we're doing this. We are the requested equipment today for our self-check. So the big project that we passed was the RFID. That project is starting on March 10th, and that's going to be about 6 weeks to tag the whole collection. What was approved tonight is the actual self-check machine, the self-check pads, and training for that program. So we will not be renewing our old machine, which is incompatible with our catalog software. So we won't be renewing that $500 annual fee. So we're catching all of these expenses as we transition. So there'll be savings to counter what we're spending. Dr. George, you had asked before about getting a capacity on the garden. And I've requested that again. I met with the fire marshal because they're also going through Lawrence Harbor, but that number's coming. And just so you know, that garden actually has 2 exits out to the parking lot, in addition to the 4 doors that go to the inside of the library. So we will be working with them, and hopefully I'll have a final answer for you soon.
Concern about that was when you changed the use of that space from being a garden and not having people in it, and you talked about putting tables and chairs and activities, I wanted to know if the fire department told us how many people can be in there, because in the past, they have told us that for every space in the library. I also don't know whether or not our insurance company knows that we changed the use of that. And is that relevant in any way? I don't know. That's what I think goes into changing use and, making something active. The other thing with the surveys, the survey that you just quoted is telling us what people who already use the library want to see to use it more, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But when are we going to do a survey that does the rest, the majority of the people who live and pay taxes in Old Bridge? What's going to get them to the library? And we're never going to find that out.
And Dr. George, I have to tell you, we are. but we're gonna have to use some non-traditional methods. As an example, when I was in Wyoming, I sent staff into the grocery store with a survey and clipboards because I wanted them to go in and start to talk. Do you know that we have cookbooks? Do you know that we have Consumer Digest, things like that? But my staff were shocked to find that the majority of people in that grocery store didn't have a library card. So we're gonna have to do non-traditional things, but it is going to be our focus for adult services this year.
One,
Yeah,
one,
and
one,
again, that wouldn't shock me to know that because I live in Old Bridge. And I talk to my neighbors and I know that they don't have library cards. Also, there's a large group of people, elders, who are looking for different things, but you're not talking to them. So it's something we need to work on. And the fact if you put it on your agenda, that will be fine.
all right, Dawn, are you familiar with the patch network of, local type of, papers? Uh, East Brunswick participates in one, and so does Mattawa, Aberdeen. Now, we chose not to do it, we being, the administration of the township, uh, out of deference to the All America, the guy at the funeral home who does his. But they have much wider coverage, and as a matter of fact, if you just go online and just type in the East Brunswick patch, there's a whole litany of things on there right now from one of the libraries. And uh, actually, I looked at the one that does Westfield as well, and they have all of their activities that are going on, and they get into much more than the suburban does or any of those. And you're not, I don't think you're paying for an ad, but
No.
just something to check with them.
And we really haven't tapped into that marketing budget. So, I have our coordinator of strategy and communication working on a number of projects. We're finding out how we do a print mailing so that we can do an annual print mailing to get to people once a year, what the cost of that is, and also what other outlets do we have? Do we take out a radio ad or do we just do I'm sorry, Sarah, what do they call the Facebook posts when you pay extra?
Yeah, like dark ads, paid ads, depends which one
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
One of the things that I saw was in Monroe, they had a program that someone had put forward who was a for-profit entity, and we wouldn't do that. But that person took out this increased Instagram ad, and it really made a difference. So we are going to be looking at these things, and we're going to be tracking our numbers.
Ziggy, what's the matter?
Hello? I'm sorry. Is
My
it
voice, my voice didn't change. It wasn't me.
no, I just need to ask this person to mute or I will mute them. Okay. Moving on. Sorry, I'm going through to make sure I don't miss anything. The draft of the budget, I do apologize. It was under the weather this week and I was hoping to have it to the finance committee before this meeting. I am giving myself a deadline of February 21st to have it to the finance committee so that discussions and evaluation can begin. I do apologize for that delay.
Have committees been appointed? Who's on the finance committee?
As I know, Maria and Frank. That's what I understood.
Yeah, that's as far as I know, correct. So whenever you're ready, I'll be ready.
Okay. All right. We talked about Maker's Day. The other thing that was in the director's report that I want to make sure that everyone's aware of, our library document station, which offers a heightened experience for faxing and scanning, has been installed and it is already very popular. The user can walk up and use a touch screen to send a fax. Prior to installing this equipment, you weren't able to send long distance faxes at the library, and we do actually send faxes at the library. So we have this here. And the other thing that I put in here, we were unfortunately sharing a phone line between the fax machine and the fire alarm. And I don't know how that moved ahead because that's not really allowed. So now that phone line is dedicated solely to the fire alarm. which puts us in, I'm pretty sure there's a code somewhere that says that we're supposed to have that, so that's good. The thing is, we were charging, $2 a page for the fax. And we get included in our maintenance fee, 8 pages of faxing per day. I think that that will handle, the demand that we have so that we don't have to charge the public for faxing because it doesn't cost anything anymore for us to do it other than the electricity. It's all done online, so we don't, before we had to pay for a phone line every month, and now we don't. Any overage is billed at 25 cents per page, and I would like to see if we can keep it a free service for the residents of Old Bridge. And I just wanted to bring this up because some people may not have read that part of the director's report. And if there is no question, then I'll just move on. All right, everything else that is in there, the Lawrence Harbor branch has been the focus of a number of inspections lately. The recycling inspector said that we needed to have 5 recycling bins. If you've been to that branch, I recommend that you do so that you can see the size of it. I'm not sure we could even fit, but we are working with DPW to make sure that everything is done the way it needs to be done. And the fire inspector is recommending that we may not be able to use some of the shelving because it blocks an exit sign, but I'll be working with them next week to make sure that everything is safe out at the harbor.
If the residential people only have to have 1 can or 2, they pick up plastics and things like recyclables, and everything else goes into the regular can. It seems a little unusual that this person is expecting us to have 5 cans.
So they're not talking about outside. So we actually don't have any refuse pickup at that branch. The custodian brings it in the van back to the main branch where it's sorted and dealt with. They're talking about inside the building. But as I see it, having 5 people in that branch is quite full. So that would be 1 recycling container per person. So, but we're going to work on it to make sure that we're meeting with what's required of us.
Did he demand the size that you have? Size of the can?
No, but I have to tell you, I really appreciate, I just want to give a shout out to Casey Lenning and our whole Department of Public Works team. They come in and installed some shelving for us that had been waiting to get done. It has to hover above the floor. So the safety was particular. They did that for us. And Casey is making sure that we're compliant with the recycling inspection for the town. And I believe that that is all that I have with until we get to the committee reports. Unless somebody wants me to just do that now.
Dawn, yeah, you can talk about what we discussed at our committee meeting with Gina and Ro and myself last week, if you'd like to bring that up now, so we don't have to do it then.
Excellent. So I met with the architects regarding the renovation of the bathrooms. And Frank, I was thinking of you the whole time because they pointed out so many things, features that we don't currently have that are just more modern, that are with regard to safety and maintenance and longevity that I thought everybody would appreciate it. So the things that they brought up is that currently ceilings are no longer made with drop tiles, particularly in bathrooms. They are made flush so that people cannot hide things in the ceilings when they go into the bathrooms. That's been a problem in a lot of public libraries with people using those spaces for drug use. And while we haven't had a problem, it'll be really nice to know that we won't have a problem in the future. We also have the opportunity to create, it's popular in libraries now to have family restrooms that go beyond simply having, a changing table. And there are lactation spaces. There's a big movement for that. So I'm working with the architect to give you a couple of different options with what we're doing, but to make a space for our parents, I think is really going to be nice in that area overheading towards the children's area. The other thing is the finishes that we have. One of the things with that suite of bathrooms is, for instance, tile was only brought up 6 inches up the wall, which means that you're going to have a lot more maintenance issues than we would have if we had tile going all the way up the wall. So some of the finishes, we're going to look to make sure that they're reducing the amount of maintenance while also increasing how long we anticipate the lifespan of the next round of bathrooms to be. So I met with them about that. We did discuss the logistics on RFID, which I believe I've told you we're starting March 10th. And then Rocco, is there anything else?
No, I think that was it.
Okay. Yeah, so that was what we had for buildings and grounds. And just to take a look at the agenda, unless there's anything else, Frank, for finance, I've given myself a deadline for getting the draft budget out.
Okay, as soon as you get it, send it to me and Maria, and I'll start working on it immediately.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to committee reports. So we just did building and grounds, nothing else, Rocco, right?
Yep, nothing else. We're good.
Okay, finance, Maria's not here. Do we skip Chris then? Is that okay?
Well, one question about finance.
Yeah.
I believe our capital amount that was reported is not really reflective of capital funds that we have. So I tried to reach out for Maria, but she hasn't returned my call. So I'll try and talk to her and find out what the story is, because I thought the number was considerably higher. Because she's got, I think, 1.381 million. This was for last year of capital available. So that's important for us to have an accurate number, and if something's not being classified. So that's it for finance.
Okay. Outreach and marketing.
So I went over the things that we're working on, and with the outreach and marketing committee, once we get a couple of pieces together, then I think we'll be ready to have a meeting outside of the board meeting.
Okay. Perfect. Personnel, Dawn, I was gonna do your review in person today, but obviously it's virtual, so I'll email you separately. I can come in this week or next week or something. We could do it together.
That sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Policy, anything?
Nothing to report.
Okay, and technology? No update? Okay. Moving on to public comments.
Sarah, could we have a listing of the current committees for this year? Because I don't think it was ever announced who's on what.
Yes.
So we just need you say you're gonna have a committee meeting, but I don't know who's on the committee. So if we could just have a listing of who you've appointed, I would appreciate it.
Yep.
And I don't know why the finance committee doesn't have 3 people on it.
Okay.
Why is it kept to a 3-man committee when it's supposed to be a 4-man committee, including Sarah? I don't know. And I had volunteered last year to fill in the position if there was nobody else interested in it. And of course I was not acceptable, and I have not volunteered this year, but I think our committees ought to have the number of people that they should have, and whatever, maybe they have it, I just don't know about it. So thanks.
And appreciate as much feedback as I can get from the board when we are doing the budget, so that, you know, it just helps me to make sure that I'm doing my absolute best for the full board. So that feedback, I'm very appreciative of that when we're forecasting for our spending for the upcoming year.
Sarah, what used to be, that isn't, I mean, Sarah, Dawn, we used to get projected, actual, and difference for the last 5 years. Then
Yeah.
it was reduced to 3 years, and now it's nothing. That would help you do a budget, because all you have to do is adjust your figures based on your experience, if you have it. But you don't have that information, so I don't
So
know how
just
to change it, or.
Just so you know, we did put that on the draft of the budget for last year, what was previous year and what was underspent or overspent. You're
Mhm.
absolutely right. That's extremely important. But that is exactly the information that I use in forecasting the budget.
And you should have it. And I also would appreciate, in all honesty, if the directors of committees were at meetings. So if we have a question about what happened, we can ask them. This way, you just save it for next month. But okay, well, whatever.
Sarah, is
Give
that
us
something
that
we could
list,
do?
Sarah.
Could we like revisit committees?
Yeah.
And just to see if, you know, maybe someone wants to switch or join a different committee? Is that
Yeah.
something we can look at?
Why don't I send an email after this board meeting to all the board members and just maybe ask people to volunteer to what they're interested in, then I can at least get a starting list to see where we are.
Mhm.
Sarah, I think when you shared the information about joining a committee or whatever, it was not during the actual meeting, and some of us may not have heard it or whatever. You know, in the past, it was send the director whatever committee you're interested in serving in, and people did that or didn't do it or whatever. So I think that should be done,
Okay.
if it hasn't been, but whatever. But whatever you come up with, just let us know.
Yep.
We had a question.
So one other suggestion I would make is the current finance report that we get. Um, I'm half legally blind in one eye since I've been born, and the other eye, I think I'm trying to figure out what size type this is. Is it 6.8 point? You can barely read it. And my suggestion would be we could probably do it on a 11 by 14, turn it into a landscape, and just that you'd have to print front and back, but you certainly would make it a lot easier to read. Maybe, you know, again, I don't have the best eyesight, so maybe it's my problem, but I've got
Frank,
current.
don't you get that by email? You can make your email font larger.
Yeah, but when I'm reading it, you know, no, I can read. I can read it with the glasses, the powerful glasses I have. But then I couldn't drive over there. So it's the other thing is just look, give it a 1/4 inch margin all around. You could probably go up 1 or 2 points. Make the spacing between them columns now. You know, it can be,
I will bring that up.
yeah. And how are we doing on the situation with postal, you know, the process we discussed to try to find out how many people are actually in Ward 5 and 6 that are actually coming here and not going to Monroe or East Brunswick?
So what we've actually done is, because we keep revisiting this and not coming up with the results that I'm entirely happy with, we actually have a meeting scheduled next week where we have supervisors from technical services, circulation, myself, and we are sitting down and we're going to go through line by line on all of our collection categories, because I don't think that the consortium has things labeled clearly. This is when I said I don't trust our data because I don't think it's clean. But I spoke to the director from another library in the consortium today, and she felt the same way. So I am going to go through with those supervisors line by line on the collection reports and the circulation reports. Anything that's not completely clear to us, the questions are going to go to the consortium, and we're going to make sure that we get explanations on all of those so that I'm able to give you an informed report.
The other thing is, I didn't see anything on here for how many people came through the doors this month, or did I miss it?
I'm sorry, I don't know, and they normally put that in the department reports because it's not typically a part of my report.
Well, we've always had it for years, and you changed something a while back, and I think we should look at it. We used to get figures as part of the report. I don't know whether it came from Felicia or not or whatever, but what we were handling, traffic in, traffic out.
Yeah. And I can tell you that's something that we're monitoring very carefully. I've been waiting to put it together because the board does need to know that we are seeing an increase. Circulation's getting busier, foot traffic is getting busier, several days a month, even without special events, we're going over 700 in the library, which shows you the impact of our efforts. And the board does need to see that. So, and also state report is coming up in March. So I'm going to be making sure we're going to be culling all of that data and pulling out insights for the board. So I would think probably April, we would be ready for that, but I'll get you some more statistics before then for our monthly numbers.
Until then, I'll give you a little bit of my high school Latin, videre est credere. To see
Okay.
is to believe. Okay.
There we are then. Okay.
Okay, public comments?
If anyone from the public wants to make a comment, we would need you to unmute yourself.
Okay. I will make a motion to adjourn until next month.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, have a good night, everybody.
Bye, good
Thank
night.
you, everyone. Have a great night.
Yes, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.